Good morning, folks. Welcome to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, your host, and we're in luck because we're going to be speaking to Dr. Ray Acevedo. Ray is our precision agricultural researcher here at Kansas State University, and he's going to be showing us some really interesting tools. We're talking about drones, and we're talking about phone applications to tell how much nitrogen that you need to apply. So get your cup of coffee, come on back, and we can get this show on the road.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, your host, and we're in luck because we have Dr. Ray Acevedo with us, and he is our precision ag professor and newly hired as of last year. And Ray is going to be talking to us about what he's up to. And before I go too much further, Ray, I know I was a big inspiration to you because I think you sat there on the front row in my class and you thought, well, heck, if he can get a PhD, then I can too. So I'm glad I'm an inspiration to you.
You certainly were an inspiration to me. I figured anybody from Oklahoma that could get a PhD, certainly somebody from Kansas.
Okay, I can lower your grade. I can. Okay. But enough of that. Ray, thanks for taking time to being on the show with us. And I know in your PhD work and what you're continuing to do is a lot of obviously remote sensing, precision ag type stuff. Could kind of tell us what you're, in this first little section here, kind of give us an overall view of what you're doing.
A large focus what I've been working on is developing nitrogen recommendation algorithms utilizing optical sensor technology, things like green seeker, crop circle, or cameras on your drone. And so right now what we're doing is so you can either drive your tractor with active optical sensors on it across the field or fly your drone. The algorithm we created here at K-State will analyze what's going on with your winter wheat, corn, grain, sorghum, and be able to make a yield estimation and a nitrogen recommendation. So you can make very efficient nitrogen recommendations across the field, increase NUE, optimize yield, and increase your profit per acre.
Let's talk real briefly about the optics that go on the machinery.
Okay, yeah, sure. There's a number of different companies like so for active optical sensors that build them, like Trimble for one makes the green seeker, Optrix, that's built by Holland Scientific, and then which is Ag Leader's commercial version, and then of course there is blanking now, Topcon Crop Spec. And so the thing is that they illuminate their own light source, and they're shining red light and near infrared light on the crop. And basically what it's doing is calculating NDVI, normalized difference vegetation index.
Right.
And that's giving us a gauge of how big the plant factory is by using the near infrared light.
When you say a plant factory, you're talking about photosynthetic capability.
Photosynthetic capabilities, and also how much biomass is there, how many tillers,
okay,
and those
sure,
things.
sure.
So the red light gives us the gauge of photosynthetic capacity, near infrared light gives us the gauge of how much biomass is there, how much tillers.
Okay.
And so an easy way to think about NDVI for this kind of application is that we utilize it to tell us how much wheat is there and how efficiently it's running. And so if there's nitrogen stress, reducing its efficiency and how much photosynthesis it can do, we know we need to potentially apply more nitrogen. And so that is basically what those kind of sensors do for us. The nice thing is about active sensors, because of their own internal light source, they are not affected by sky conditions, which cameras on drones are.
Okay.
And
so if it's cloudy, that's not going to be an issue.
it won't be an issue.
Okay.
So cloudy doesn't matter, but if you're flying a drone and using a camera system, clouds will make a big difference.
Sure.
And so sky conditions, sun, solar, zenith angle, time of day will change your results.
Okay. Don't go away. We've got to take a break right here. Folks, now's your time to get a cup of coffee and hurry on back. We got to have a word from our sponsors. See you in a second.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
Heinen Brothers, a fourth-generation Northeast Kansas farm family, knows how tough farming can be. Farmers helping farmers. Heinen Brothers Ag, selling and servicing crop protection products, fertilizer, anhydrous ammonia, cover crops, quality aerial and ground application. Call today to learn about our extended term financing program. 800-760-4964. HeinenBrothersAg.com.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, and with us we have Dr. Ray Acevedo. He didn't run off during the break. Thanks, Ray, for staying with us during the break time. Ray, let's talk, it was really interesting, your overview there. Tell me a little bit about the why of this technology.
Why do we even have it, and why are we even using it?
Right.
You know, and the way to think of this is because, like, how much money do farmers put into nitrogen fertilization of their crop, whether wheat, corn, or grain sorghum? It
can be expensive.
It can be a lot of money, and we know that nitrogen, what your application should vary across the field, because it's a unique interaction between the soil and the weather, and so we could lose.
Variable is the key word here.
Variables
across the
variables. Key word. You know, if you apply a flat rate of nitrogen across the field, you're probably not going to get a uniform yield across there unless you had absolutely beautiful uniform soil and beautiful uniform rainfall, but we're not going to get that. And so what we're looking at doing is utilizing this technology to be able to tell that this part of the field actually needs 80 pounds of nitrogen and this field needs 30 pounds.
And another part needs 120.
Another part needs 120. And so we can optimize it for every little place within the field. So treating that big field like many little fields.
Right.
And so then we can get a lot higher nitrogen use efficiency and a lot more profit per acre.
You know, that reminds me, when I was at school at Iowa State, we had a professor up there that owned land north of town, and he drove the co-op guys crazy because he had it mapped, and he would have a stake from this point to this point. He'd say, I want to put on this amount of nitrogen, turn left and go to that flag up there in this amount. So that was way before the remote sensing part of it, but interesting.
Well, you know what? He was probably using remote sensing to determine that. He was using his own eyes and his knowledge of the soil and the weather and put together a variable rate nitrogen map in his head. So as you can imagine, with this algorithm development for these sensors, all we're trying to do is do the same thing, but instead of driving the co-op crazy, the sensor just does it automatically for
Right.
him.
Right.
And so I like to tell my students that basically we're trying to put, like, our soil fertility specialist, Dr. Dave Ming, on the front of your spray coupe, and you're driving around and you're saying 30, 40, 100, 120, things of that nature. But yeah, it's a wonderful technology, and I'm glad to say that it's really starting to come up in Kansas. And so an important thing we start to discuss now is, you know, how we actually did it. How do we go about doing this?
Okay. The how part of it is the tricky part.
Yeah, the how part's the tricky part. And what we did is since 2006, we've been establishing nitrogen studies all across the state of Kansas and applying different nitrogen rates at different times and collecting spectral data from, like, green seeker and from camera imagery and monitoring it from start to finish, from planting to harvest. And so what we're doing there is that we're collecting the necessary spectral data to see how the wheat plant or the corn plant is responding to the nitrogen, how it displays nitrogen stress in unique environments. Because how it's going to display its stress in southeast Kansas, where we got a lot of rainfall, is going to be a lot different than southwest Kansas. So we got two totally different environments.
And northwest and the other
North
area.
is the same thing. Kansas is a beautiful development environment.
I bet it is. I bet it is. We've got to take a break right now, Ray. Hang with us, and folks, stay with us as well. We got to have a word from our sponsor, so hurry on back and we'll continue our talk with Ray.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
I'm a patient of Kansas Regenerative Medicine in Manhattan. I had stem cell therapy in my hips and my left knee. My wife and I both are patients. We went down there the same day in November. Since then, my hips are feeling a lot better. I can work now most of the day if I want to. And before, if I worked in the morning, I was done in the afternoon, or if I worked in the afternoon, I was sure enough done for the rest of the day.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, and with us we have Ray Acevedo, our precision ag person. And Ray, you know, as we finished up in the last section, you talked a little bit about, for the last 10 years, we've been doing nitrogen studies across the state. And during the break, I was thinking, well, you know, we've been doing nitrogen studies at K-State, Oklahoma State, all the schools have been doing it for, gosh, how long? 60, 70, 80, 100 years? What's different the last 10 years as opposed to all the stuff all the research has been done up to this point?
Well, what's changed in the past 100 years or even the past 10 or 5 years is the technology available.
Okay.
And so because the invention of different types of optical sensor technology and the price of it coming down to where it's actually feasible to implement on the farm, we really didn't change a whole lot with our nitrogen studies. All we did was kept doing them, but now started collecting data with
other
the
data.
census. Yep. Instead of the typical pull plant samples and take your yield and use plant analysis to see if it was nitrogen deficient. Now we're collecting the extra data with this sensor technology so we can build these kind of algorithms. We couldn't do it off past old data from Oklahoma because it didn't have the necessary data that we needed to build it. So we're still doing all the same old stuff of doing plant analysis, doing the yield, getting the grain protein, all those things, but now we're just adding on the spectral data.
Okay, so let's continue the on-farm stuff. What kind of rates you're using, what the brackets you're using, that sort of thing. Kind of explain that a little more.
Yeah, sure. You know, typically we'll have different nitrogen rates ranging from 0 to 150 pounds of N, usually in 30-pound increments. And we'll apply that at different times in the season, all pre-plant or all at Feeks 4 at just spring green up.
Right.
And then we do split treatments where we apply some at pre-plant and then the remainder at Feeks 4 or Feeks 7 sometime after jointing, or even all the way out to flag leaf.
Right.
And we see how the plant responds and collect the necessary spectral data so we can build these nitrogen recommendation algorithms.
Okay, so these sensors, let's take a particular rig, a spray rig. So where do the sensors go? They're in the front of the machine, obviously.
They're typically on the front of the machine, whether it's on the front of the boom, just ahead of the nozzles, or all the way at the nose of the machine, and spread out there, depending on the sensor design. But it's always in front of the nozzles.
Yes,
typically.
it
has to be, right?
Has to be.
Somebody went wrong in the engineering otherwise. So they typically go in the front. And outfitting a spray rig right now, use good capitalism to get the competition to bid you a good price, but typically between $15,000 to $20,000 seems to be the going rate to outfit a spray rig with active optical sensors. And you can just go ahead and drive through the field, and while you're making your typical nitrogen recommendation, so if a wheat farmer right now was making their nitrogen application at spring green up like they usually do, they just turn the sensors on, drive through the field at the speed they normally go, and it will make their variable rate nitrogen application.
But there's not much foliage at this particular time. How does it know that it needs that much?
Well, that's the fancy details of the algorithm design. And so we got a lot of information and made it area specific for different areas of Kansas, and in order so we can properly interpret what's going to happen with the soil and the weather in order to produce the right amount of tillers and ensure that it has enough nitrogen to get through the season.
Ray, we got to take a break here. Folks, stay tuned. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Tallgrass Commodities offers producers bulk commodities at a reasonable price with reliable service throughout the whole Midwest. To find out more about Tallgrass Commodities, visit tallgrass.us or call 785-494-8484. That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, your host, and with us we have Dr. Ray Acevedo, our Precision Ag faculty member in the Department of Agronomy. Ray, we were talking, well, wait a minute here. I see a little toy down here. Let's talk about this toy that you've been playing with.
Yeah, that's what we do. In agronomy and research, we play with a lot of fancy toys.
Yeah, right.
And then somebody writes me a check, so I just fly this around all day and I get paid. But no, not really. What I'm focused in on is turning this toy to a tool for on-farm use.
Okay.
And so right now there's been a lot of hype around drones in agriculture.
Right.
But the coolness factor is finally wearing off.
Right.
And so
now we got to put it to work.
Now it's time to put it to work. It's time to have it make money on the farm. And right now it's got equipped with sensors that aren't all that different from active optical sensor technology.
When you say active optical, you just mean normal camera.
Well, when I say active optical, I mean that it emits its own light source.
Oh, okay,
so
I'm sorry.
Camera is actually a passive system. It requires sunlight to get the light in.
Okay.
And so what this camera will do is just like it'll do normal color vision like we're seeing right now, but it'll also do things like near infrared. And so we can do NDVI, which is normalized difference vegetation
So we can
index.
see if it's stressed or not.
See it's stressed, we'll have increased sensitivity. And so, but the obvious benefit of a drone is that we can fly fields rather quickly and assess a lot more fields. And so then we can cover more acres and potentially address stresses sooner. And so we can minimize any potential negative impact to yield.
Okay.
And so we're doing the similar work to make nitrogen recommendations based on this. And this one is actually a pretty nice fancy toy turned into tool. It's got onboard a computer on it, does all the processing right as it's flying it. And then also it's equipped with other sensors so it can actually see where it's at. And so it knows if it's actually flying close to you, not to come up and chop you up. And so it can stay away.
That's important.
That stays away. It's got ultrasonic sonars. And so we're actually starting to get into other types of data that we could potentially use on the farm to make a better recommendation.
Can you give me an example of that other type of data?
Well, say like this, I can be flying over the crop and actually be able to detect and tell how much height the crop is. So
how tall it is.
How tall it is.
Okay.
Yep. And so that could be useful information, especially when you're starting to talk about calculating forage biomass, things of that nature. I get a lot of calls in from farmers wanting to know what we're doing for forage development.
Right, sure.
And so looking at forage yield and forage quality. And so we're not ignoring them. We're trying to get them in there. And then at the same time, bringing in like thermal imagery.
Right.
And so livestock, cattle, want to find out, see where they're at in the field, count how many are there, and also try to be able to tell if they're sick or not.
Well, let's let the animal science folks talk about that. But the thermal, though, that's really important on stress or moisture stress, heat stress. A sick plant or a drought stress plant is going to be a little warmer than a well watered.
That's right. So using thermal imagery like with drones is often used for being able to help schedule irrigation management and also being able to tell if there's any issues with the actual irrigation system and helping find leaks and things of that nature.
Okay, I want to do a whole show with you on this one of these days, but anyway, we got to take a break and we got one more section to do. Folks, get your cup of coffee and hurry on back. We have to have a word from our sponsors. See you in a second.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. A high-energy, drought-tolerant crop, sorghum only requires 6 inches of water to produce the first bushel. And with its wide uses and easy adaptation, sorghum proves to be a truly indispensable crop. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities, big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, and still with us we have Dr. Ray Acevedo, our Precision Ag faculty member. And you know, Ray, we're talking about all this technology that you've been talking about here, and I got to thinking, well, maybe if you developed an app, you know, that with a smartphone that you could go to the phone, take a picture, and it would tell you what the yield's going to be.
Well, you know what, Jim? As they always say, is that there's already an app for that.
Oh no! Well, good.
But
I kind of knew that it was.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that it was actually, we've been working on a Kansas Wheat Yield Calculator app for the past couple of years. It was actually sponsored by the Kansas Wheat Alliance.
Right.
And its initial version that came out did all the standard methods of calculating yield. You count tillers, you count heads, things of that nature. But for the past couple of years, we've been beta testing the picture yield estimation side of it. So basically, you just go up, take a picture of the crop, and then it gives you a yield estimation. And
okay, hang on here. So, at any time of the year, what kind of angle, that sort of thing. What do you?
Okay.
I mean, you just take a picture?
That's literally it. There's no calibration boards involved. I made sure that didn't happen, because if there's any extra little details that are needed, a farmer's not going to use it.
Right.
And so all you need to do, it can be used at any time of the year, assuming that there isn't snow on the ground or something.
Like last week?
Like last week. As long as it's just the crop and you just take the picture with the row, that's all that's needed. We're getting ready to put out our next update, so the picture yield estimation side will be coming out. And the creation of that actually came from all of our sensor algorithm development we've been doing the past 5 years. During that time, I was taking all the necessary pictures and coming up with new processing methods to make this happen.
Okay, so what you're saying by that is, you would say a field that was going to yield 30 bushel, you would take a picture of it.
Right.
A yield that was going to yield 35 or 40 or 50 and so on, you would take a picture of it.
That's right. And so when we took all those different nitrogen trials, all those different nitrogen rates, took it on every last one of those plots, and we did it all across Kansas, and we have yield ranges from 0 all the way up to 115, 120 bushel.
Okay.
And so we got a wide yield range, a good data set, and a very unique processing method to where sky conditions don't matter anymore.
Okay.
And then also calibration boards aren't necessary. And so it could just give a farmer a quick gauge of how well is that wheat going to do.
You know, because I tell everybody, I can usually guess within 30 bushel either side of what the wheat field's going to do. This, I hope, is a little better than that. How close can you get?
You know, on the wheat tours, you usually like to talk that you get a little closer than 30 bushel, but we won't go there. Anyways, you can get pretty close. Right now, I've been seeing results being within around 5 bushel of the actual yield.
Okay.
And I'd consider that a pretty acceptable level. Now, I'm assuming that there isn't a plague of locusts that comes in later.
Right, right. So you can take it, like you said, in the fall. You can take it in the spring prior to top dressing, and then throughout the season.
That's right. So you could be monitoring how well your crop is doing throughout the entire growing season.
Okay. So where can they get this app? How can the farmers get it?
You can go ahead and download it at the Apple App Store is one of them, and then also we got an Android version. You can load that at Google Play.
Okay, so expensive?
Free. Rather, it doesn't cost anything, free to download.
Okay, good deal, good deal. Ray, thank you for taking time to tell us what you've been up to, and I won't change that grade. Okay?
Well, that's good.
Okay.
That's good. Well, they'll take my PhD back.
Folks, thanks for being with us on this issue of That's My Farm, and don't forget, next Friday about this same time, we're going to have another That's My Farm show. See you then.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.